My album, The Project, came out August of last year. I remember sitting down for my first music meeting with my producer, Mr. Kristian Bush, in which case he asked me, Lindsay, what's your favorite record of all time? And I was like, well, Kristian, that would be Continuum by John Mayer. And he said, perfect, I want you to go record the whole record. He's like, your only rules are you have 2 weeks. You have to play all the instruments yourself. And you have to do it by yourself in a room at your studio at the record label. Nobody else can be in the room with you. The next 14 days, I worked 8 a.m. till 3 a.m. around the clock. Not really knowing why Kristian had asked me to do this, but fully trusting in him. Kristian is a human that I trust 100% in life and in music and everything creatively. Fast forward 2 weeks later, and I hand over this project, the Continuum Project. It's like, take music that you love listening to, recreate it in your own voice, and listen back to that in the speaker, and then see how you feel. It was probably one of the coolest things I've ever heard a producer ask an artist to do. So thank you, Kristian Bush, for making me do this. Recording the Continuum Project was the thing that made the gears click in my head. It was like all of a sudden I knew exactly how I wanted my record to sound. We weren't gonna release this, but I've been talking about the story of how we got to the project that you guys have requested to hear the Continuum Project. So because of all of you fans, thank you so much. I love you from the bottom of my heart. We have decided to release the Continuum Project for you, so you can see the journey I went through. Waiting on the world to change is how Continuum starts. So it was an important one. I wanted to get it right. I start the record with a count off, just how John does. And the one thing about Waiting on the World to Change is it's so melodic. Some of my favorite guitar players are so melodic in the way they play their solos. It is so much harder to play a simple solo that you can sing and that is memorable than just stuffing a bunch of notes in there. And so when I recorded Waiting on the World to Change, it was a great little mini masterclass on how to keep something simple, and it ends up being so much greater in the end. I Don't Trust Myself is probably one of my favorite songs off of my version of Continuum, the Continuum Project. I just feel like the way it turned out inspired me to such a great level that I then took to go record my own album, The Project. There's an angst in that song that I feel like I am living, and I was living when I recorded Continuum, and so it just felt so honest and so true. Belief is such a fun song to play, and I've covered it many, many times. It's definitely one of the highlights of Continuum for me, so I wanted to make sure the guitars on Belief were right. Gravity is an important song to me because I feel like when people think about Continuum, they think about gravity. I knew that a lot of people would click on that to be like, okay, let's hear Lindsay's take on gravity. And the way I recorded it, it is so bare bones, it is so raw, and I kind of wanted it to be that way, you know? I kind of wanted it to just be like, start with an organ part, and when we were mixing the Continuum Project finally, there was one guitar take where I was dialing in my guitar, and there's a little bit of peaking, like on the track where the guitar like distorts a little bit at the beginning. Like, that's real. That shows what the essence of what the Continuum Project is all about. It's about getting down in the dirt and really figuring this stuff out, and you kind of keep it all there, all scars, all good and bad. It's part of the lesson. There's a charisma to the Heart of Life that I wanted to make sure that I kept. I remember the first time I heard Heart of Life, it sounds so uplifting, which there are a lot of heavy songs in Continuum, which is probably why I love it so much, because I love heavy and sad songs. But Heart of Life just has so much promise and so much hope, and I really wanted to keep that. I love playing Vultures live, and a lot of my friends who also love listening to Continuum, Vultures is one of their favorite songs. It's so much fun to sing, and so it was one of the first songs that I actually started with when I recorded the Continuum Project. I knew that it was just gonna feel right. Stop This Train was the one song off the Continuum Project that we released. I released it on my EP last year, so we released it in March of 2017. I remember recording Stop This Train. There's something about the lyrics of Stop This Train that are so real to me. And when I was recording it, it felt easy. It felt like, okay, just lay down the acoustic, lay down an organ, sing it, and it seemed to like all collect there on my screen in Logic, and that's why when we were getting the EP together, it just made sense that it was the one that we'd include for fans just to even learn about the Continuum Project way back then. Slow Dancing in a Burning Room is my favorite song off Continuum, and because of that fact, it was really hard for me to record. I went through so many different amps and so many different combinations because it was so important to me, and I wanted to get it right, and I couldn't get it right. And so I ended up starting with a 2-rock, going through pretty much every amp I had in my possession, and ending with a 2-rock. But it was a really important song to me, and still is a really important song to me. It's my favorite song to play live off Continuum, and I think I finally got it. The hardest song on Continuum to record was Bold as Love. It is the Hendrix cover that John decided to put on Continuum, and Jimi Hendrix is one of my guitar idols. I've been listening to Hendrix ever since I was 13 years old. And so watching Mayer cover a Hendrix song and then me covering Mayer's version of a Hendrix song, I just felt such a responsibility as a guitar player to, one, get the solo right, and two, it's a 2.5-minute guitar solo. I mean, that's like a song inside of a song. And so it was like attacking the Bold as Love guitar solo was a thing, and I didn't do it until the very end. I didn't do Bold as Love till the last song because it was important to me. It was a statement that needed to be right, and I feel like I gave it my best shot. Dreaming with a Broken Heart, when I listen to the way I sing that song, it honestly makes me kind of tear up a little bit because I was living that. You know, it's really easy to sing a song about a broken heart when you have a broken heart. And there's just something about that lyric that it like hits you right here in the chest. And that's a special song to me. It's probably one of my favorites off of the Continuum Project. In Repair is a perfect example of why John Mayer is such a brilliant songwriter. There's so many different sections to that song that just seem effortless and seamless. But as far as musically constructing a 6-minute song, it's brilliant. And I learned so much about recording all of the parts of In Repair and yet still making it sound like one cohesive piece of music. In Repair was an amazing song to record and learn from. I'm Gonna Find Another You is the way Continuum ends. I remember the first time I heard I'm Gonna Find Another You, there was an attitude to the lyric that I fell in love with, because the music doesn't have the same attitude that the lyric does. And I think that juxtaposition is what makes the song so endearing. The music is so sweet and so enticing, and then when you hear the lyric, it has kind of an attitude to it. It's like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done being sad over this. I'm just gonna go find this again in my life. So I really liked that juxtaposition of a lyric with music. And again, John Mayer, you're such a good songwriter. It's kind of frustrating.